Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss what would happen if, as someone speculated at the weekend, the turnout for the coming general election was low due to voter apathy. Normally this can favour the party of government, but not this time. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel. So a correspondent for the Spectator was this weekend saying that they were getting anecdotal feedback from canvassers of all political parties. There's a lot of apathy and disenchantment out there, and that one Tory MP talked about maybe the turnout would be really low, like 2001 level low. Now, I wouldn't trust someone from the Spectator to tell me the time of day, much less keep me informed about views on the ground in a political contest. And they did, to be fair, say this is anecdotal. However, it doesn't really matter whether there is strong evidence for a low turnout or not. It is an interesting concept to discuss. It's also not the first time low turnout has been suggested. Professor Curtis, the noted pollster, said the same thing a while ago. But their thinking, I think, was even shakier. They said that turnout would be low due to the lack of personalities in the two main leaders. But I would point out that Boris Johnson surely objectively had a much stronger personality than Theresa May, yet the 2019 general election had a lower turnout than the 2017 election. The good professor does often fall into the curse of expertise trap, and I think he's probably doing so here as well. Curse of expertise being when someone asks you a question and you don't know the answer, and instead of having the fortitude to simply say, I don't know the answer to that, your ego, because you are an expert, your ego forces you to make something up because you feel you should know the answer. Albert Einstein was a bugger for it as well. But never mind that. What is more interesting than trying to guess is how it would impact the results. Essentially, it would be disastrous news for the Tories. Right now, voting intention polling gives Labour a massive lead over the Conservatives. And it's not just about the poll lead either. If Reform UK do not stand down in Tory target seats, then they will cost the Conservatives extra seats. If the Lib Dems concentrate their vote more efficiently than usual in this election, as I think they're trying to do, that will also cost the Conservatives more seats. There are seats lost which the gap just purely between Labour and the Conservatives does not show. Basically, the Conservatives are on for a hiding, but people say they expect the polls to tighten once the general election campaign formally begins. Now, this is fairly normal behaviour, but what causes the polls to tighten when the opposition are in the lead? It's the undecided voters. Right now, there are voters out there who aren't sure how they're going to vote in the general election. So most polls ignore them until they make their mind up. Opinion are the pollster that try to take account of them, but their methodology is a little bit spurious. But the idea is that once the campaign gets underway, these voters will start to become decided voters, because all of a sudden it's no longer a hypothetical question. There's going to be an election in a few weeks, and they start to think about how they're going to vote, and a lot of them will vote Conservative. That is feasible. There are likely to be a lot of undecided voters who lean towards the Conservatives, but they just can't bring themselves to say they'll back the current shit show right now. So they say don't know in the polls at the moment. But if they want to actually vote, they're going to have to vote for someone or spoil their ballot. And many of them will decide that somehow Labour will be worse, so they hold their nose and vote Conservative, right? The Tories are utterly dependent on these don't knows coming out for them at the election. And it's accepted wisdom that once a voter has decided to vote for a different party to last time, it's really hard to get them to change their mind back. So all those who voted Conservative last time and now say they're going to vote for like Labour or the Lib Dems or Reform UK, the Tories are not realistically going to win very many of those back come the election. So all their hopes lie in the undecided voters. They're the ones who are winnable. And if there is low turnout, the people staying away, it's not those who are currently expressing a voting intention. It's those who are undecided. If there is a low turnout, it means that those who can't make up their mind right now simply decided to stay at home instead of trying to give CPR to the worst government we've had in my lifetime. And that would be disastrous for the Tories because they're completely reliant on those voters turning out in unrealistically large numbers to save their blushes. All of their strategy is based on getting those don't knows to turn out. I've said before, even if a lot of these undecided voters did turn out for the Tories, the impact might still be neutered by a surge in tactical voting, which polls don't take account of either. I mean, imagine a scenario where Reform UK really do stand and campaign very hard, the don't know stay at home, and the surge in tactical voting happens. That is the point at which the Tories could find themselves in double figures of MPs. That is the point at which the Conservatives might find themselves not even leading the opposition. Quite bizarre, because Conservatives traditionally benefit from voter apathy. When in government, they tend to be quite good at getting their own support base out and actively work on persuading more progressive voters to stay at home because the alternative isn't radical or pure enough. But on this occasion, the Conservatives are simply not giving their voters anything to bother with. You know, they're like the party of low taxation, but taxes are the highest they've been since just after the war. They're trying to con people with tax cuts, but even the mainstream media is pointing out it's a con, that they're taking with one hand and giving a little bit back with the other, that the rate of tax is still going up this year. At some point this month, we're going to find out if we hit technical recession. Now, if we don't, Sunak can breathe a sigh of relief there. But if we do, that'll be a huge nail in the party of economy coffin. The party of immigration control with its shiny new points-based immigration system. Can't blame the EU anymore, we're doing it now. Oh, record net migration, fancy that. Just think about the various reasons people have for voting Conservative and ask yourself, how are the Conservatives promoting themselves to those people right now? I mean, they're not, are they? Sure, lots of people will still vote Conservative. It's largely habit. But the less reliable voters, the ones who think about it a bit more, they're just not being given a reason to support them this time. So although there's no hard evidence that I've seen that there will be a low turnout this election, if there is, it's because a load of voters who want to vote Conservative waited until the very last moment for the Tories to give them the reason to do so, and didn't. So stayed at home. And although I said at the start that I wouldn't take too seriously something the Spectator writes about, their correspondent did make a very good point. They went on to show that there were two by-elections in 2014, the year before the 2015 general election. David Cameron fought tooth and nail to win them. He ordered his MPs out in force, ordered them, threatened to take the whip away from them if they didn't, because the stakes were so high. He wanted to bombard those constituencies with Tory activists to win those seats. On that occasion, it wasn't Labour he was afraid of, but UKIP. And despite his efforts, UKIP did win one of those seats in the by-election. But the contrast now is incredible. Rishi Sunak is facing two by-elections next Thursday, not the one coming, next Thursday, much closer to the election, and is putting no effort into them at all. Reports are saying the Tories are basically given up in Wellingborough. They're just not out. Their constituency office looks very much closed for business. If Sunak cannot be bothered to fight for pre-election by-elections, he's not actually serious about fighting the general election. If Sunak gets properly spanked in these by-elections next week, that will send a strong message to the public that the country wants change. People are sheeple. People often go with the crowd. If they think that the country wants a change of government, many people think themselves that there should be a change of government. The idea that Sunak is going to turn the tide in the general election itself by simply unleashing his dirty campaign machine is laughable. It's going to make the UK a deeply unpleasant place to be for a while. Absolutely, just like 2016. Maybe worse this time. But the impact on the polls is going to be limited. Could be negative for them. As I say, if it ends up putting off those undecided voters, if they don't like it, and it just enrages those leaning towards tactical voting, it could end up making things way worse for Sunak. And if this does happen, and the Tories do get beaten down to double figures of MPs, we're going to see them fall into a real death spiral as two evenly matched and polar opposite factions have to battle each other to the death. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later.